And I am an associate producer and content manager at DreadXP. DreadXP is an indie horror publishing company. So we do focus mostly in horror, but we have our hands in a variety of different places. My whole talk here today is, I think something that a lot of you can relate to, and being young and trying to get your foot in the door in the industry. So leading an up and rising company at 24. Who am I? So, like I said, my name's Abby. And I've been in the industry for quite a while. I've done pretty much everything. I've been around the block. I've seen a lot of things. And I graduated from Arizona State University last August. And my major was graphic information technology. So that seems like a very big jumbled mess of words there, but essentially what my focus was I did a lot of video editing, 3D modeling, animation, graphic design. It was basically just like everything shoved into one major, which was very beneficial to me because I was able to figure out what I really wanted to do in the industry. And my main focus with my degree was video game design, essentially. So moving on there, where I started. So I actually wasn't into games when I started getting into the industry. I was actually a nursing major for 2 years. It was kind of like family pressures to do that. But I realized that I really wanted to like be in the industry in some way, shape, or form. So I actually started as a content creator. I did Let's Play videos on YouTube. And that's how I got more acquainted with the industry. I was able to meet a variety of developers. I was able to meet other content creators and just like other fans of indie games in general. So based on that, after doing content creation, I ended up doing actual game development. So I actually went into just basic design work, and I did a lot of voice acting. And then that allowed me to be, introduced to my old developer partner. And we started working on indie horror games together. So, we were featured on the DreadX Collection 2, DreadX Collection The Hunt, Cave of Illusions, Balivore, Cave of Illusions Twistyland, Theater Unrest, Solemn Cess, Dia, which was our first project together. Just little indie horror games that we sold for like $1, and eventually we put them together. We took 3 of them, like Balivore and Theater Unrest and Solemn Cess, and we put them together into one package that we sold on Steam, which we called the Peekaboo Collection. And that's really what got my foot in the door, essentially, is working with this developer, and that's how I got introduced to DreadXP. So essentially my foot in the door, like I said before, I was recruited with my old developer partner to make the DreadX collections. And if you don't know what the DreadX collections are an anthology horror game. So essentially what DreadXP did is they kicked off the company by recruiting a variety of indie horror developers to make games in almost like a game jam setting. And so, we got paid a certain amount. We had a certain amount of time to make a game, and it was under a theme, essentially. So after making Arcadlatra, which was on the DreadX Collection 2, I was also recruited to do voice acting for that game. And they also saw, as in, the leaders of DreadXP, they saw that I, worked really hard. I got a lot of shit done. And so they brought me on to do quality assurance, video editing, and content creation. So I did a lot of YouTube videos for them. I did QA on the DreadX Collection 3, and a variety of other titles. And so eventually I just kept rising in the company. This is something that I've been doing for years. I was persistent. I worked hard. I worked probably too hard, but it has paid off for me. And I was put into a production position back in October. I first started out as content manager. So I was not just making videos anymore. I was actually managing them. I was managing like most of the content that you see at DreadXP. But then I was put into a leadership position, and now I'm producing games like Dread Delusion, the DreadX Collection 5, My Friendly Neighborhood, Spookware, The Mortuary Assistant, and Sucker for Love, and a variety of other titles that we haven't announced yet. But essentially, I just did a lot of rising very quickly. And it's been a lot of work, but the whole point of, what I'm saying here today is that it didn't just start with me applying to a specific position and then getting it. I did a lot of things. I did a variety of things in the industry, and all of those things today, between content creation and basic QA testing and basic design work, all those things allowed me to get the position that I'm in today. And now I'm, running a company that's very up and rising. And it's very interesting. It feels almost kind of weird, but I'm only 24. And a lot of people, they don't get a position like this for many years. Like, they have to work for years and years and years. And not that I did not work for years. It's just that, like, sometimes it's like some people have worked like 10 plus years to get a producer position kind of thing. And so it's very important that, no matter what you're doing, whether you want to be a 3D artist or if you want to, be a programmer or a producer, take all the things, all the opportunities that you can, talk to people, make friends, and, just make sure that you're happy with what you're doing, because it is like a big grind. And it is something that if you continue to do, you will get recognized by others. And that's what happened in my position, where I constantly was just promoted. I never applied to a job. I was asked for positions, asked to take over positions, because people saw like the amount of work that I was putting in. And that's not to say like it's bad to go out and ask, right? I know at DreadXP, I do hires all the time, whether it's veterans, people out of school, it never hurts to ask, right? And I was just at Big, which is the Brazilian Indie Games Festival, in Sao Paulo. I was just there last week, and we had some developers just come up to us and they're like, "Hey, this is what I can do. I'm looking for work." And we actually did just bring on a couple people. So again, it doesn't kill to ask. But I would definitely encourage all of you to continue to, talk to each other and, befriend not only people who are in leadership positions, but befriend people who are, just having their first time in a 3D art position, for example. I have so many contacts who, they barely had their first job, and now they're working like really, really big jobs because of the connections and the friendships that they made along the way. Don't ever feel like you have to isolate yourself from other people or from other people's work. I know, especially in the indie horror gaming community, there's some like, "Hey, I'm going to focus on me" kind of thing. And of course, like, you are always your first priority, but get out there and talk to people, support people. Sometimes if you're feeling it and you have the energy for it, do little favors for people, do little features. I can't even tell you how many games I am just doing features in, and I'm in a production position. And I would say here at DreadXP, we're in a very unique position, though. I have a very unique job because we're not just a publisher. We are actively involved in all of the development for all of our games. So for a number of games, I'm doing music. I'm also a musician, so I'm doing vocals and music for a number of our games right now. I'm doing design work on multiple games. There was a case where the DreadX Collection 5, which was our newest release, I had to step in and actually hand on the game. So like we have a very unique position here at DreadXP. It's not something that you'll commonly find in other companies, but it's something that I really enjoy because as much as I love being a producer, I'm also a developer and I like to make things hands-on. So I'm only able to do those things because of all the connections we have and the friendships that we have. And of course you have to have the drive and you have to have the talent, but you know, my persistence is really what got me here today. And long story short, that's what, you know, I encourage all of you guys to do. You're never too young. I'll tell you that right now. You're never too young to do what you want to do. You know, obviously it's very rare that, you know, right out of college you're going to get a leadership position or a senior position like I have. But don't think that you're not capable of doing it. I wouldn't, you know, wear on your hat that, hey, I deserve this position and, you know, you should hire me on for it. Obviously, again, it doesn't kill to ask, but you know, just don't ever let anyone tell you like you're too young. Like your product, your talent, your skills, they will always speak for themselves. We also, you know, we recognize that at DreadXP. And again, like I take a lot of pride in hiring younger folk because you know, I think that it's silly to hire someone all the time just because they've been in the industry for a while. Like there's a lot of young talent, and so I encourage all of you to recognize and see how much you're valued. Even on like another project, it's an unannounced project, but we brought on this quirky younger fella programmer who's very talented. But you know, we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to go out and take younger folks. But you know, there's so much talent out there, and it's don't ever let someone make you feel bad about your age. There has been some times when people have tried to not take me seriously, and then they see what I can do, and they they stop not taking me seriously very quickly. But yeah, definitely you know, see value in yourself. That's one of the biggest things that I can recommend here. Make friends, see value in yourself. Don't see your age as much as you do like your actual talent. And take feedback, please, for the love of God. If you're getting into this industry, you got to be able to take feedback. You're going to get pushed down quite a few times. But you know, get back up. I've been pushed down many times just in the few years that I've been doing this. I remember my first game that I worked on. The first review was a bad one, and it was a brutal one. And I sat in my closet and I cried. I was very upset. But yeah, you have to get up. You have to take feedback. And now the person who left that review, I actually found this out very recently. I'm now their boss. So it's very a funny thing. We talk about it all the time. We're friends now. The guy was just kind of in a bad place, so he was just popping bad reviews left and right. And don't get me wrong, the game was a janky game, okay? But it was my first game, and it's hard to see that at the time, but you will move through levels. You're going to get a lot of feedback and take that and recognize when it steps over some boundaries a little bit. You know, feedback is not always fantastic. Sometimes people are more destructive instead of constructive. But you know, just keep on going, keep on getting better, keep working at it. Stay persistent. I know I was at the tail end of the last talk here, and I know there was a question about school. We pretty much here at DreadXP don't really give two shits if you have a degree or not. we look at your talent, we look at your portfolio. Are you driven? Are you hardworking? Those are the things that we pride a lot in taking people on. I do have a college degree. As I said before, I got my job before I even graduated. So my college degree had no influence on whether I got my job or not. They saw what I could do. They saw the work that I provided, and that is what, why they base their decision, or where they base their decision, excuse me. So not that college isn't important. If you're in college, like, don't think it's a waste of time. I think that everyone knows deep down inside what's best for them. And there was a lot of good skills and connections I made during college that I don't think that I would have made if I was not in college. So, do consider that. You know what's best for yourself, but know that you do not need a degree for a variety of places. AAA is a little more, I would say they look for degrees and they value degrees more. But as far as like indie stuff goes, this is the new way of going through hiring. And most people that we have on our staff do not have college degrees. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll open it up for questions. And if you guys do want to check out DreadXP, this is our website. I do have a Twitter and an Instagram, and of course, you guys. I was gonna add my Discord, but it's like, dude, we're literally on Discord. Wouldn't be hard to find. So yeah, if any of you guys have questions, I can transfer that over. Is DreadXP hiring? We're always hiring. We always have a variety of positions that we're looking for. Different things open up. We're only getting bigger and bigger. The growth at DreadXP over the last few years is actually insane. I'm not saying that because I work here. I work here because it's just a fantastic company. I'm so incredibly thankful for my job and for the people that I get to work with. But that being said, we're always expanding. We're always bringing people on. We're starting to we're actually partnered with a film company. And so we're actually starting to make some of our games into films now. We're setting up a porting studio in Poland currently. So we're gonna be porting games as well. We're very, very ever expanding. So yes, we are always hiring. We are always interested in seeing what kind of talent comes across our table. So yeah. If any of you guys, okay, here we go. Considering you work a lot on horror games, do you have any sources I can look up that teach me how, for example, to draw horror-style creatures or scenes in general? Honestly, I don't know if I necessarily have, hands-on material to, show you. The thing about horror is that it's very expressive, and it's very, you kind of have to put in the imagination and whatnot. I would say look more for styles. Like, what kind of style are you going for in horror? Like, are you going for a more cutesy kind of horror? Are you going for a more psychological horror approach where it's more illusion based? Are you looking for creature design, monster design? It's really about what you want to do at the end of the day. But I would say the best thing that you could do to kind of get your hands onto art is to go through a variety of horror games that are already out there. There's also a lot of good music that has some good good art, like album art, for example. That's where I get a lot of. I listen to death metal, so there's so much cool album art out there that's very, very horror based, and that was a very big inspiration for me when I started doing concept art for horror games. But yeah, there's also other things like, SCP. There's, creepy pastas out there. Fan fictions of horror games. A big inspiration for me was actually Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I used to love those books as a kid. It's one of the things that got me into horror, and that I always go back to that. Always. That's one of the biggest inspirations for like my style of horror, I would say. Always very like smiley, kind of fucked up looking things. I really enjoy. Yeah, myths and legends are another good thing. There's so much creepy material out there. Um, and there's so much cool art. It's just a matter of like what kind of style do you want. You know, doing your research is definitely a big thing because you're gonna figure out what attracts to you. And if you're attracted to something, you have a bit more passion for it than the next thing. And I always encourage everyone, like, do what you're passionate about because, this, even though games are fun to make, they're a lot of work. Like, this is still work. I work very hard. I work overtime, like, every week. And it's a lot of fun. I get to do a lot of cool shit, but it's work. So do what you want to do and make sure that you actually want to do it. Narrow it down, figure out what really speaks to you in the industry, and just go for it. But don't be afraid to try other things, especially because trying other things might open a door for you to to see how you work, and a company is more likely to hire you on if they see how you work under them in another capacity, if that makes sense. Da, da, da. When looking for people to hire, what do you look for? Hmm. Also, an example: two junior, one is very creative and has a decent quality, but don't have nothing horror related to show, compared to maybe someone that is deeply into horror theme, but they're very new to the art industry. Does passion have to be aimed towards the theme? Uh, you know, the thing is like you don't necessarily have to have a portfolio full of horror. For example, like we have programmers that work on back end stuff, um, and some of them have never made a horror game before. If you're a good artist, you're going to be able to do a variety of art, a variety of like art and themes. What we really look for is the passion. Communication is a big thing. You always need to be communicating with whoever you're working on a project with. I can't even tell you how many times we've worked with people who are incredibly talented developers, artists, every kind of thing, and they did not communicate, and we will now never work with those people again. You have to constantly be communicating, and you have to have that passion and drive. Is Lauren, I just saw that question. No, William's a terrible employee. Um, but actually, William's a really good example. He's the quirky programmer that I was talking about earlier. It was just a little Easter egg in there for him. But we hired William on, and he's leading a project right now. It's an unannounced project, but William's a young fella, right? Where most of us here, I'm assuming, are young fellas and fellettes. But yes, we brought him on to take on a very big project. It's a project that I'm very, very excited about. And he has a leading role in that project on the programming side and a variety of other things. And he showed the drive, he showed the talent, and now he's just continuing to rock away. Didn't communicate how. For example, we had a developer, on the DreadX collection, one of the DreadX collections. Actually, multiple times this has happened. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news here, but a lot of us don't have the best social skills because we talk behind computers all day. But yeah, sometimes, for example, for this collection, this developer was struggling. He said everything's fine, and then we get a demo of his game, and nothing has been done. um, and that's very, very crappy because you're a developer on a collection with 11 other developers, and when your game is falling under the water, you're making them look bad. You're not only making us look bad, but you're making these other developers that are here to have an equal chance to put out their game on this collection. And like, you just can't do that, right? And we would have much preferred if this individual would have said, "Hey, I'm kind of struggling right now. I either need help. We're always here to provide help. Um, we're not going to stomp on you if you're like, oh, you're having a bad time and you can't finish this. Well, screw you then." Like, that has never happened. We always provide help when or if help is needed. But you have to be able to communicate that. So if you're bad at communicating when shit's getting a little rough, like, that's something that you need to fix within yourself if you want to have a successful career in the industry. Communication is key. Like, ask for help when you need help, or be honest with yourself and say, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this project. I either need to step away or we need to find out another solution here." Sorry, my cat's yelling at me because she wants pets, and I'm like, "Not now, Mukitty." How do you manage a remote team? Oh boy, it is like wrangling wild alien buffalo. Uh, it's it's crazy because we work with people all around the world. Time zones are not my strong point, as some of you here may know already. But it's incredibly difficult. How we actually manage remote teams is the Google Calendar has saved my life. Because it accommodates everyone in their time zones. As long as we have like their emails, it will, show up on their Google Calendar. I cannot tell you how nice it is to have the Google Calendar. We use a lot of Google products in general here at DreadXP. So we use a lot of, Google Docs because people can live change information on documents, and that's a really big thing. We use Discord. Actually, we pretty much use Discord exclusively for communication. So each week I have maybe like 20 hours of meetings, and all of those meetings are either held via the Google Meet or on Discord. And Discord, on our DreadXP Discord, if you were to join it, you can't see these because it's obviously back-end stuff for employees and whatnot. But we organize all of our games, so each game has its own little tab. So Discord and Google Calendars is really how we manage a remote team. And it's a lot of work, but staying organized is the key here, and not everyone can do it. That this is part of my job. Not everyone can organize like a large amount of teams, but that's part of the territory, and it's something that you're gonna mess up here and there. There have been many times when I've scheduled the wrong meeting at the wrong time, and it's a lot, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, essentially. What problems have you come across, and how did you solve them? Honestly, I had to make mistakes. That's how I identified problems and I solved them. I had to make mistakes, and I had to be willing to put in the extra time to fix those mistakes. We were talking about communication. Unfortunately, for one of our titles, we had a developer that was building a hub world. And he was really struggling. He did not communicate that he was struggling. And so I had to hop in and actually make the game, which caused us to push the game back. And that was a big deal because when we push a game back, we also have to push other titles back with their release dates because of the spacing and the way that the market works. And had he just communicated that he needed help, I could have hopped on way earlier, and we could have brought our other programmer that we ended up bringing on. to help out with the actual coding aspect of the game. But we had to learn the different quirks for people. The issue with this individual is that we worked with him before, and he was just amazing. Like, he made this like very ambitious project on a previous title, and it was one of the favorites, fan favorite kind of thing. So it was weird because we never saw it coming. But what we had to do to fix that was to put in the extra time to compensate for it, and to learn um from the fact that, we probably should have hit harder on him before and asked him like way before, when we saw he had just told us like everything was okay, but everything obviously did not look okay. So in the future, learning from that mistake, having more communication on projects like that, and making sure to not just trust that everything's okay, even if you've worked with someone before and they have delivered. We always need to be checking in. Checking in is a really, really big thing. So I would say that's one example of like how you have to solve those kinds of issues. Had the luck to go into an internship at a daycare, you literally get forced to have social skills. Throw yourself at those situations. Yeah, I can't reiterate enough how important it is to have social skills. Um, and I think that a lack of social skills is a really big reason why communication is hard for people. Especially because we are in a time where, especially in the industry, most people are working remotely. So it's easy to forget how to make eye contact with people, to approach people, to be able to have a conversation with people. Definitely have a little confidence, even if you don't have that confidence. It's one of those things where fake it till you make it kind of works, because you wanna come off as not overconfident, but like a healthy amount of confidence. You know, you want to be able to communicate with people, and employers want to see that you can properly communicate with people, and hold a conversation. Being a student ambassador during uni really brute force improved my social skills, especially with random people I met. Yes, you're going to be talking to a lot of random people in this industry, so if you're afraid to talk to people, definitely work on that. I manage a smaller team as it's easier to keep everyone on the same page and motivated for voluntary remote work. What does your hiring process entail? It depends on the position. It depends on the project, and it depends on the position. So we have a variety of projects that are unannounced that are going to be bigger projects. I would say for bigger projects, we are trying to do like we're gonna be going through more stages. Um, we're going to be, looking into what you do more. But for like smaller team stuff, we just like, if you have a vision and you have a goal, we're really, really willing to work with you. I keep saying this, but we're a very unique company in that regard. We like to see that you're driven, and we like to see like how can you fit? What are your skills, and how can we fit them into um what our current workload and like projects are. um it's a matter of like what we have going on at the time. If you want to make a game, for example, put a pitch together, send it to us, and we'll talk to you. And if we like what we see, but we don't necessarily like want to publish your game, we oftentimes do find work for those people. So for example, we had a pitch come across our desk for a smaller indie horror game, and they just had a really big team. It was a very bloated team. Uh, and so we liked a couple people on that team, but there were a few other people that we were just like, they're not really doing much for the project. And so we ended up hiring these couple people on. We said, hey, we're not really interested in this project, but we're interested in you. We need a programmer or a designer on this specific project. It's running a little bit behind. Do you think that you could help out? And then we bring those people on. So it happens in a variety of ways. I'm good at vocal communication, especially professionally, but not great at body language or reading people. Is it something I need to work on? Um, if you plan on working remotely, I think that that's not as big of a deal. You do need to, be able to pick up on when someone is, being kind to you, but they're kind of frustrated with you at the same time. Um, you're gonna have people that wear their heart on their sleeves, and you're gonna have people that kind of, hide their emotions because they're professionals, right? I can't even tell you how many times I've been, angry with certain people, but I'm a professional. I can't sit there and yell at someone. I can't, but I think that you should be better at reading a situation rather than like the physical parts of that situation, if that makes sense. Are you doing a good job? Are you meeting your goals? Are you meeting your deadlines? Um, are you presenting yourself in a respectful way? Those are all things that I would say are a big priority. Um, yeah, pretty much. That's all. That's all for that. I just run out of things to talk about when I have boring as fuck syndrome. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I go to a lot of conventions now, and I love talking to people, but I don't want to get my ear talked off. I don't like small talk. I like to just get to the point. So don't feel like you have to constantly like be talking to people just to talk to people. Like it's nice. There's like a good balance between talking to people and, just at that point wasting someone's time because, there's a million other things that they need to be doing, especially if you're talking to like leaders in a company. I mean, they're talking to so many people. And, I love talking to people. I value talking to people so much. It's a lot of fun, especially because I'm a passionate, stupid gaming nerd. And, I like talking to other passionate gaming nerds. Uh, it's fun. Sometimes I just want to talk about, video games instead of just talking about like hiring people on. I'm not a robot, right? I love to have conversation, but don't feel like you need to make small talk all the time with people. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up on chat. Thank you for the amazing talk, by the way. You're welcome. It's nice. It's nice to be here. And again, this is a big part of my job is talking to people like you all. And I love to do it because I'm a young individual that was able to get my foot in the door because I have a lot of passion. If you have a lot of passion, you guys are gonna go places and keep trying, see your value, and don't let people again, make you feel little because of your age in the industry. There are very I was actually talking to William about this yesterday. There are some older folks in the industry that do not keep up with the ever-changing times and they'll try to make you feel less talented or that you're not as capable. And again, there are some things where being a veteran uh definitely makes you superior to, someone who just got into the industry. But um, that for like indie stuff, the world is your oyster. Uh, you know, it's there's so many opportunities for you and possibilities. Is collaborating with a metal band something you would do? Oh yeah. Yes, I would absolutely do that. There was actually a point in time where for one of our titles we were considering working with Slipknot. And I have talked to a variety of metal vocalists because again, we make horror games. A metal vocalist and horror games works out really well. So those conversations, we haven't done it yet. For one reason or another, we decided not to. But yeah, it's definitely something that I would be interested in doing in the future, and it is something that is always in the back of my head. Oh, William, not everyone's talking about you. Look at him. He's out here thinking like, "Oh my gosh, all these questions are about me." They're so not. Not everything's about you, William. Are there any specific job roles you're looking for now? I'm a tech designer. You know what? We're always looking for more programmers, I would say. We're currently in the process of looking for another concept artist, although I think that we already have someone that we're kind of pursuing for that. Um, we're always down for like 3D modelers. It just depends on, your skill level and what you can do. I think right now the biggest grab is not 3D modeling, programming, back end stuff, especially, like doing back end stuff on, like, for example, the Epic Game Store, things like that. So yeah. Oh, sorry, I missed your question there, Jordan. How was your first experience in a team in the industry? And were you always the boss? Honestly, I I wasn't always the boss, but I always acted like the boss, if that makes sense. And that's not to say that I was, overstepping my boundaries. I wouldn't say I ever overstepped my boundaries. Um, it's just that sometimes people just need guidance, and I'm very good at that. I'm very good at organizing people. I'm very good at keeping ducks in a row. Back when I was working with my old dev partner, I would say that's my first, like, team, my core team that I worked with. It was just me and one other person. And there were often times when he just like needed direction and I just naturally did it. And I think that's one of the appeals to me. I think that my boss now, because I'm second in command at the company essentially, and we do like a partnership. Like we do pretty much everything. We're very team based, so we do pretty much everything together, and all like the leadership choices and decisions are made by him and I. They all go through us, and every single thing is a discussion between us. So I usually don't like at the end of the day if like he has to put his hammer down on something, then like that is his role. But we're very good at doing things together. And so I think that with my old dev partner, when I was brought on to make a game for this company, he saw all the managing that I did just naturally, and that's what got me into the position that I'm in now. What about 3D artists? Houdini, procedural modeling, and effects for being hired. That's something that we could definitely use all the time. We have some upcoming projects that we want to put some people on, and we're always looking for that. So yeah, definitely, if you're interested in maybe considering a job at DreadXP, send over your portfolio. Say like what you want to do. And if we have space for you, or if we see a project that we feel you would be a fitting individual on, then we'll definitely consider you. If not, then that's not to say that you'll never have an opportunity with us. Like I said, like we're always bringing on new games. We always need new things. And honestly, sometimes we have a game that has been developed for a year and it's doing great, but there's just something that pushed it back, like the timeline, and we need to bring on an additional modeler or programmer to just help them out, kind of thing. So we are always having opportunities in jobs opening up. Yeah. What advice would you give companies just starting out with low funding? Make connections. Make your connections. I cannot stress this enough. Um, and definitely consider all your options for like partnerships, for publishing. It would really depend on what you want to do. Like what are you trying to, promote your game company, and you're working on a game and you're looking for a publisher? Are you looking for a partnership? Uh, you know, Getting out and talking to people is really important. I would say try to make conventions. I know this is hard because hence the word low funding. Conventions are not they're not cheap, right? It's not cheap to go to a convention for the most part. but they are very important. And if you can get out there and just get talking to people, people are more likely to remember you and like establish a bond or friendship with you when you go out and physically talk to them. I get so many people hitting me up online about jobs and whatnot, and it doesn't hit as hard as when there's this young 21-year-old who just has a lot of talent and he's just looking to program, and he has the balls enough to come up to me and say, "Hey, I need a job." Um, or "Hey, I'm looking for funding on this project," kind of thing. That is very important, I would say. And just make those connections, because even if you don't end up directly working with someone, you can establish that friendship, and they likely know someone who knows someone. All my connections started with, "Hey, I know someone that knows someone," and that's how I built my very large pool of developers, content creators, all kinds of people. Do you guys have a website I can keep tabs at for job openings? No, simply because a lot of job openings open up spontaneously, or they're on unannounced projects. We how it works here is like, you say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. This is what I can do." And if you're fitting, we'll talk to you and, try and figure something out. Discord is the best place to reach us, if you're interested in DreadXP. Yeah, it's definitely good that you started with a careers week. These talks are, I used to go to a lot of these talks. And they helped me out a lot. They also inspired me a lot. They inspired me to do more things. I would say one of the most eye-opening thing that I ever had. I went to GDC in 2019. I was still working with my old dev partner, and I walked in there like, I was like, "Hell yeah, I got a bunch of games under my belt. It's freaking great. I can definitely be on the level." And when I showed up to GDC, I realized that I didn't know a fucking thing about anything. And that was the biggest kick in my ass that I needed. I realized that, oh my god, I am so low level. It's ridiculous. And it inspired me to go out and work harder. Like that was a really big thing for me, to see that level, all those years of experience. Do you have an example of the level you were at when you got your ass kicked and where you were a year later, if possible? Yeah, I was doing mostly design work at that point. I was doing a lot of story work, a lot of design work, a lot of writing, music, voice acting. I would say like that was the core of like what I was doing at the time as far as like hands-on development. We had released a few titles, a few like indie horror titles that had done well, like they were number one on itch for a couple weeks. Um and like that was like the level that I was at. Uh what inspired me is I wanted to do more production stuff. I wanted to do more hands-on development. That's what got me into Unreal Engine 4, is I wanted to do more than what I was doing. And a year later, I was recruited to make a game for the DreadX collection. And so I was visibly seen as someone, like we had popped out another couple titles. We released our first our big Steam release that featured a number of our titles. And that gained the attraction and attention of my boss at the time, who had brought us on to do a game. And so I would say like this is where I was and this is where I am now. Before I was just doing passion projects with a partner. A year later, I was brought on by an actual company to make a game, and which got my foot in the door and got my position to where I'm at now. Is there a possibility to send a portfolio slash music piece to one of the devs for their opinions? Audio. Um, I mean, are you looking to do sound design in general, or are you looking to, do like actual music? I would say, strike up conversations first. Don't just out of the blue send your portfolio to a developer. Just because I feel like that's a little intrusive sometimes. Definitely take your shot, but open up a conversation because people are more likely to be interested in you if they see that you're not just interested in like what they can provide for you. Even though I know you're providing something for them, like music, but you want to make sure that you're not just pushing into someone's DMs without like having an introduction, I would say. Is it just Unreal you guys work in, or do you work in things like Unity at all? Yeah, oh yeah, most of our projects are actually in Unity. Um, but we have a couple projects that are in Unreal. I personally prefer Unreal. I have worked in Unity before. The most recent game that I worked on was in Unity. Um, and that was not by choice. That was because the game needed to get done, so I had to hop in and help. But uh, yeah, I definitely prefer Unreal. But we're not like, hey, you use Unity or you use Unreal. Well, we're less interested. It's more about what your actual project looks like, what your timeline looks like, and what your dreams are with that project. Oh, William's definitely an Unreal fanboy. Yeah. Unreal Engine gang. Yeah, I'll high flies. I'll answer your last question. Then I got to go to a meeting. I actually missed a couple meetings to do this. Not that I'm complaining or anything. It's been great to do, and it's an honor to talk to you guys. But I do got to get to this one. Do you guys discredit or look less on portfolios that are using Maya plugins, for example? Oh God, no, no, not at all. We also don't look down on projects that use like store bought assets, for example. Um, like however you make your game is purely based on like what you do with it, right? So like if you want to use store bought assets but you use them in a really unique way, like go for it. As long as it's legal, as long as it's like not hateful, for example, I feel like that's just a given. Um, you know, you do what you want to do. Like as long as your project is interesting and it has a variety of good ideas, that is what matters to us. In Dread, do you often have technical designer roles at all, or is it straight programmer or designer roles? We have all kinds of things. It just depends on the project. You know, uh, we're always hiring on for different things. Um, it just depends on what we need in certain projects. We're very open to everything. But yeah, all right, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a nice time talking to you. Thank you to Snappy Gurus for having me on. And oh, of course. Oh yeah, yeah. I came in here fully aware that you would get bullied a little bit. So
Yeah, I'm not happy about this.
yeah, Will had to get bullied just a little bit. All right, guys. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And yeah, if you want to check out DreadXP, we got a lot of awesome, kick-ass upcoming titles that are just gonna rock the market here. So, if you have any questions about those, definitely feel free to reach out. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the career week and continue rocking on. Have a good one, guys. Bye.